to my home and this episode of Ask Your Pastor. A member of the congregation submitted this question. I do have a question about communion. It has always been my belief that you don't take communion until after you are confirmed. I think a lot of the young people that take communion are too young to understand what it signifies and what it means. So let's address this question. Communion, Eucharist, the Great Thanksgiving, gathering around the table, the gifts of God for the people of God. All of these words and phrases have something in common: grace, welcome, and thanksgiving. In the United Church of Christ, we have an open communion table, which means that all are welcome. If a stranger walks in off the street and desires to receive the gifts of God in communion, they are welcome. Do we ask them to answer questions about the meaning of the Eucharist? No. We show them what grace and thanksgiving mean in this community of faith by inviting them to the table. Some church denominations choose to restrict who can receive communion. We choose to include all. Some churches believe that the words spoken transform the bread and wine into the actual body and blood of Christ. In our denomination, we teach that everyone who wishes may receive the symbolic bites of bread and sips from the cup. At Hope Church, we allow our children to take part in communion. We have chosen to include them in the community table, just as we invite all who enter the sanctuary to join us at the table. Some people ask us if it's a good idea to let children take part, as they may not understand the meaning. I wonder how many of the adults understand the meaning. Is it to know that our separation from God, sometimes referred to as sin, is replaced by God's love and power, and that a new life begins now? Is it that the element of the great mystical presence of Christ touches and changes us with or without our knowledge during the celebration of the sacrament of communion? Many times in the New Testament, the phrase breaking of the bread is used when people gather together. In the Road to Emmaus story, we hear that the two followers of Jesus did not recognize him when he came to them after the resurrection, until they broke bread together. When the crowds gathered to hear Jesus and the day went long, the disciples thought to send them away to find their own food. Jesus told the disciples, "You feed them." And they shared the bread broken into many pieces and the fish that they had. And there was enough for all. The gifts of God for the people of God, and all were fed. In Christ, there is no us and them. We are all us, all of the people in this world together. We are connected through God's love. We recognize the holy within each of us when we join around the table and break bread together. Thank you for this question. What questions do the rest of you have? Email them to me, and you may find them featured on the next episode of Ask Your Pastor. See you next time.